You would actually pretend to be... Did it work for you? When you pretended to be American, things changed around when people thought you're American?
Yes.
Okay.
Like anything.
Welcome to Expat Life Germany, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. Now, on this show, usually I have guests who have experienced Germany in a positive way. And looking at how popular Germany is as a destination for foreigners, it's safe to say that the country has something to offer. I know it does. It had something to offer my wife and me and now my family. And many of the guests feel the same way. But of course, if you go by various expat surveys out there, you realize that Germany does have its challenges. And notably, the language and the perceived unfriendliness of the Germans and how difficult it is to integrate are themes that come up a lot in those surveys. So these things could explain why the German dream could become a nightmare for some. And that's exactly the case with the guest in this episode. He has had some bad experiences in Germany, and it's clearly tainted his time here. And we'll get into this shortly. But first... Fegi Padfo, first ever German expat podcasters Advent donation face-off, as named by Nicole, my rival. And if you've been following the show over the past few weeks, you'll know that I am embroiled in a battle with Nicole from the Expat Cast podcast. And we each chose charities, and we're battling to see who can raise the most money for their charity of choice. Nicole's charity of choice, Women's Worth Inc., which helps women in developing countries, women that have entrepreneurial ideas or need opportunities. They get help from Women's Worth Inc., so it's a great charity. My charity is Lebenshilfe, which helps children with special needs integrate into German society. And so far, Nicole has raised around about 100 euros. She's made a jump from the last time we spoke about this. And I've raised 160 euros. So we're doing pretty good. I'm winning. Let's not lose sight of that I am currently winning. And the thing is, I've got 1 week to go. Now, I know Nicole's going to make a push over the next week or so. There is 1 week left for people to make their donation. So it would be great if you could go to expatlifegermany.de/charity, expatlifegermany.de/charity, and click there to donate either to my charity, Lebenshilfe, or to Nicole's charity, Women's Worth Inc., or both. Now listen, I heard that Nicole has some trash talk videos coming out this week. I've heard Nicole's trash talk in the past, so I am very interested to hear what this is going to be. And of course, if that is the case, if she does have trash talk coming out, some smack talk against me, I'm going to have to respond in kind. So stay tuned to our social media channels. All links in the show notes. Now, I have to talk about the story before we continue, because it struck a chord with me. You no doubt know of Greta Thunberg, the teenage climate change action activist. She recently tweeted a picture, and I've got a link to it in the show notes, that struck a chord with me. As I said, it's of her on an ICE train, sitting in the walkway between carriages with all her luggage, because the train was overcrowded. So her tweet just said, "Traveling on overcrowded trains through Germany, and I'm finally on my way home." Seems innocuous, and I completely related to her scenario because I used to commute 4 hours a day with the Deutsche Bahn, and part of that commute was on ICE trains, and this would happen to me, especially in the holiday periods, where I would get onto a train. Sometimes I would even have a reserved seat, but I couldn't get to it because of the crowded aisles, and I'd just give up and say, you know what, forget it, I'm not pushing my way through all of these people, and then I would just sit down somewhere in the walkways between the carriages, exactly like Greta did. So when I saw that, I was like, I get it, Greta. And the Deutsche Bahn first responded with a lovely message, actually, where they apologized for the inconvenience and saying they were working on their connections. I was like, great. Good job, Deutsche Bahn. But they soon deleted that tweet and replied with this, and the translation is courtesy of The Guardian. "Thank you for supporting us railroaders in the fight against climate change. We were happy that you traveled with us on Saturday in the ICE 74. But it would have been nicer if you had also reported how friendly and competently you were looked after by our team at your seat in the first class." Boom. Now, this sounds like whoever is in charge of the social media at Deutsche Bahn responded, but some higher-up shadowy corporate executive decided, no, hang on, that's not the route we want to go with this. So they responded with that, which, you know, it's a bit of a pity. It's a bit of a pity because anyone who has traveled any amount of time regularly on ICEs has at some point had to sit in a walkway because they couldn't get to their seat or there wasn't a seat available. So it's not like this doesn't happen, Deutsche Bahn. It's not like this is a fairy tale. It happens. So Greta replied to the Deutsche Bahn and said that she was sitting there until Göttingen, and then she got a seat in first class. She got to it. I don't know whether she got to a seat. I can imagine that it was crowded, and eventually after Göttingen, a lot of people had gotten off, so she was able to get to a seat. I don't know. Maybe I'm defending her too much. I don't know. I don't know what the story is. I just know that it's not outside the realm of possibilities, Deutsche Bahn, that she couldn't get to her seat. And she also wrote a tweet. This is no problem, of course, and I never said it was. Overcrowded trains is a great sign because it means the demand for train travel is high. And that's just it. All she said was that she was on an overcrowded train. Deutsche Bahn. Deutsche Bahn. You know, the problem is, you would be fighting climate change if your prices were a little lower. Because every time I have to make a choice to go somewhere, traveling by car is way more attractive because of the prices for a ticket to get somewhere on ICE. Now, the trains get there pretty quickly, but it costs a fortune to get there. So, yeah, I don't know, Deutsche Bahn. I think you need to work a little harder on sorting out your train connections. Anyway, now to this episode's guest. We recorded this way back in September 2019, and we were sitting in a beer garden on a moody autumn afternoon. And the guest, who has requested to remain anonymous, he approached me, and all I knew was that he wanted to discuss some German myths with me. But almost straight away, when we started the interview, it took a turn, and I realized that his Germany experience has not been a positive one, and that he wanted to come on the podcast to air his views. He discusses some things that we've all experienced, rude people in the foreigners' offices, the difficulties making friends. And these things that we've also probably experienced have helped shape his opinions about living here. But then he's also experienced some things that I haven't experienced due to my background. And he comes from India, just to give a bit of context about this. So our backgrounds are very different. So he's also experienced some things that could be defined as racism. And that is not something that I have experienced. That's not something I can speak to. But what struck me during the interview is that the Germany that he's experienced is not the same Germany that I've experienced. It's a difficult interview because there are some opinions he expresses that I don't agree entirely with. And I'll talk about those after the interview, so stick around for that. But it comes back to the fact that one's experience of a country is dependent on so many factors. So it was good to hear from this guest and try to understand where he's coming from. I also need to mention, before I start the interview, this interview is marked as explicit, and there are a few obscenities here and there, nothing bad, and we also touch on difficult topics like racism and some other things. So just be advised, in case you are driving along with little ones in the car or something, you might want to exercise your parental guidance or something like that. All right, here's the interview. Why don't you start off by telling me where you're from?
I'm from Calcutta. It's a metropolitan city in the eastern part of India and the former capital.
So you grew up there?
Yeah. After graduation, I moved out of Calcutta. So majorly I lived in the southern part of the country. Almost 7 years in Bangalore, and meanwhile here and there, so a few months in Bombay, a few months in Chennai, and a couple of small towns. Down south, I was working, and then I met my current supervisor. And yeah, after a couple of conversations, he actually invited me to come to Germany for my doctoral research. So that's how I came to Germany.
Yeah. That means you studied in India as well?
Yeah.
What did you study?
I studied electronics. So I did graduation and post-graduation from India. And then I applied for DAT scholarship. With that, I came to Germany. Mm-hmm. For my doctoral research in electronics.
Oh, so very nice.
Kind of a major in microelectronics.
Okay. You moved over here to do your doctorate,
yes.
Your doctoral degree. Where did you go? Where did you do that?
I worked in a research institute, which is in Bielefeld. It's a small town in the western part of Germany, in NRW, and the university affiliation was from Bielefeld University.
Okay. All right. So then you finished up there. How long did that take you?
Well, I wrapped up my research work in 3 years, and I'm still waiting for my degree.
Okay, still waiting for your degree?
Yeah.
Why?
After I wrapped up my work, I had a chat with my supervisor, and he said, mostly in Germany, Germans take 6 to 7 years to wrap up. And it doesn't make sense that for a foreigner, you come here and in 3 years you wrap up things and get your degree.
What?
Yeah. So
Does that make sense?
I couldn't get the sense, to be honest. So I'm just giving a bit of benefit of doubt. But I asked him quite that whether he's not happy with my work or should I work more. He said, no, work is literally over. So basically what he suggested me that I must wait for a while and meanwhile I can write down my thesis. There are a couple of guys that are actually waiting in the queue and they joined long back before me.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks odd if I finish off before them. So yeah.
How is it that you are finishing off faster than what people usually do? Is it that you worked harder? Are you smarter?
No, not really. For me, things were simple. I came with a scholarship of 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that amount was really paltry. And before that, I was working in India, and I had a lavish life.
Mm-hmm.
So if I convert the amount of money which I was getting as scholarship is less than what I used to earn in India per month.
Okay.
So you can imagine.
Yeah.
So I was quite focused.
On getting it done.
Yeah. And didn't spend much time during holidays. And you know what? It's a slight observation from my side that the locals, when they pursue PhD here, they don't have much motivation because things don't change much for them.
Okay.
Getting a degree, without getting a degree, are all the way same. Mostly people I came across in my research group is they grew up in a location where they go to a particular beer garden, a particular bratwurst joint, and to be honest, even their obelisk is ready at a particular location. So everything is pretty defined.
Right.
So they think of moving out when their girlfriends are moving out, or they got a girlfriend from a different place.
Okay.
And they don't want to, these girls are not willing to stay there. So that kind of sums up my experience about the people. So maybe that can be one of the reasons. Also, as I said, that money was one of the defining thing. That time I was expecting my baby, and we were not in a situation that we can think of getting a baby with a scholarship amount. I actually stayed 3.5 years in the university. So within 3 years, I completed my work, and 6 months kind of negotiations and also a bit of understanding what's going on and what's there for me in future. And I actually decided to go back to India. But my supervisor requested me that perhaps it's nice if I can search something around, because in that case we will both keep in touch, and perhaps he hoped that I would finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's quite common among the people here that even if they enroll for degree, they don't finish. They were doing the job and suddenly they change the job, and that's
and
all.
then it just falls by the wayside. They
Yeah.
don't continue with it.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you're still waiting for your degree. How much longer will this be?
I was expecting a meeting with my supervisor in October, which he promised, but apparently I came to know that he's a bit dicey because he has some other appointment suddenly coming up. And so if you ask me about writing, I would say that I need a couple of months to finish writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on my last chapter. And yeah, by October I can assume that I'm done with the writing thing.
Mm-hmm.
And writing a thesis means it's a never-ending job. So basically I constrained a bit so that I will wait for some feedback from my guide, and then if needed I will write down a few more points. Otherwise it's good to go.
Okay. All right, so it's pretty much ready.
Yes.
And then what happens once it's all wrapped up?
I think there is a time period of 6 weeks. Within that I am supposed to defend my thesis.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if no alterations are suggested, then I can just submit it. Or maybe if there are alterations, sometimes there are some mistakes, mostly grammatical.
Okay.
So if those are there. People say that, okay, just correct it and submit it.
Yeah.
And then I'm good to go with my degree.
So, I got a lot of questions for you right now. Let's start. Where should I start? Let's start with what are your plans when you get the degree? Are you going to stay in Germany, or are your plans now to go back when you're done?
Well, in India, I was working for American companies. So those kind of jobs I can get anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And now, if I'm trying to be specific about living in Germany or staying in Germany, I would say I don't see my future in Germany.
You don't?
No. I grew up in a very cosmopolitan environment, and it pains me to see that even people don't like to talk to me for being whatever background I'm coming from. They keep on doing the same thing with the baby. And if a baby will grow up in an environment like that, I think it's bad for her. I would prefer to leave this country and go to a place where these kind of things will be minimum.
So what kind of things are you talking about here? You say people not talking to you? How do you mean not talking to you?
Well, if I go to a pub, I order my drink, I drink it, I leave. That's simple.
Right. No one approaches you.
No.
Is that different to India? If you go to a bar in India, is everyone pretty friendly, approaches you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely people do chit-chat. I mean, not about India. I would say that I was in UK and I saw the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That if you are just getting a drink or two, there are people who will do chit-chat. Normal talk.
Yeah.
It's I mean, everybody is busy with their work, their life, and there is no harm. But here, I mean, maximum conversation I had in my life in a pub is like, oh, are you allowed to drink? I said, come on, I'm above 18.
Here in Germany, was that?
Yeah.
But
and I asked that guy who is serving me, why me?
Why are you allowed to drink? No, this is strange. Is this a common case at most bars and pubs that you go to, that you find that people are just not approaching you, discussing, or if you approach them, are they unfriendly back, or what is the case?
Okay, here comes a bit of background.
Mm-hmm.
So, after arriving in Germany, I lived in Dresden for 4 months. My experience was pretty good there. Well, I was learning German in a language school, and I was surrounded with some guys, so I was never alone to a pub.
Your study mates, and
yeah. So even if I am alone there would be some people from the school or some other people whom I knew before because I visited them with some guys. So that was pretty much. In Bielefeld, I lived 3.5 years, as I said, and it sums up the experience over there.
Right.
Well, exceptions, yeah, they exist. So if I visited those pubs with some of my German neighbors, there was conversations. Yes, interesting conversations, and I was quite surprised to see the knowledge level of Germans about non-Germans. Initially, I used to think that they think bad about people from India. Then my boundary went outside India, maybe South Asia. Slowly it moved farther, and finally it reached German boundary. So they have a lot of prejudice about people coming from different countries.
The Germans have prejudices.
Yes. So one example, one day somebody asked me, why are you wearing shoes? I said, excuse me? Do you get to wear shoes in India? I mean, I still think that the person was in, marijuana or hashish.
Yes, I would
effect
say,
of something.
Where was this? This was not in a workplace environment or something like that. This was on the street somewhere. I'm guessing.
No, actually, somebody invited us. So, their friend.
At their house?
Yeah.
Asked you why are you wearing shoes?
But I must say, the people, the couple who invited us, they are really nice people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not here to say bad things about people only. I must say that I met nice people, and people with, well, to be honest, people whom I saw that they traveled around. they are pretty open.
Yeah.
They have seen things and they have seen bad, good, everything. So they don't talk shit. But I'm afraid the number is pretty low.
The number is pretty low.
Yeah.
See, this is quite interesting for me because my experience is very different, but obviously we come from very different backgrounds. So, and I know that a lot of people have this experience of Germany when they're here, that it's very difficult to make connections with people, and people, especially in Franconia, are quite closed and not open to initial contact. But you're saying this was already happening. Was this happening in Bielefeld as well?
Yeah.
Okay. To come back to that person asking you about the shoes, I guess it's a common conception, or let's put it a stereotype about India that
Yeah, definitely.
that you don't wear shoes.
Yeah.
At least in a temple, people know, or that kind of thing, they know that there is some kind of time that you leave your shoes outside. So that is quite interesting. Okay, so explain to me your movements around Germany. You arrived in Bielefeld.
No, in Dresden.
Oh, in Dresden. Dresden was your first stop there. You had a
Yeah.
lot of students around you, a lot of people that you knew, and you would often socialize with a group of people. You would go to clubs and pubs and whatever.
Well, here I must talk about some stereotypes, interesting stereotypes. So before coming to Dresden, or before coming to Germany, I was talking to some of the alumni from my university, and one of them said, "Oh my God, you're going to Dresden? It's hell." I said, "Whoa, really? Why?" A lot of neo-Nazis. I said, "Come on." He said, "No, I'm not joking." I said, "Okay, fine." So once I arrived, initial days, not bad, I would say. So first I met somebody. I was just roaming around alone, and there was a guy who approached me. He said, we arranged some meetings of foreigners, mostly students, young people, cool people. So it's nice to see you. And to his surprise, I was an exceptional Indian because I was alone. Because he thinks always Indians roam around in groups. I said, okay.
Okay.
I have never been outside of India, so maybe. Who knows? So then he asked me, how do you feel here? I mean, Western country must be a lot of differences, right? I said, I'm yet to find something different because Calcutta is pretty much same.
Okay.
River, the tram. As soon as I use the tram, he said, "Oh, come on, you must be joking. There is no tram in India." I said, "Really? How do you know? Have you been to India?" He said, "No, but I can guess." Then really, you can guess that where the tram service is there in a particular city. India was a British colony and it was the capital of India, or the British India. So there was a point of time, I'm not joking, they used to love Calcutta more than London. And they did things in Calcutta. If you travel in both the cities, because I did, I can tell you that they are so similar.
Mm-hmm.
And also these Victorian architectures all around.
Okay.
In the main
because of the
cities.
British influence, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in the metros, things are more or less same. But Calcutta being the capital, it has its own aura. I mean, ex-capital, but own aura. And trams, metros, I mean, we call the underground rails as metro. So these are quite common, and we feel that, okay, I know that there are no other cities in India which has tram. But yeah, this guy was pretty funny. But overall, I would say that in 4 months, though I had a couple of bad experiences in the language institute, but my stay in Dresden had been the most wonderful stay in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. I never faced any discriminations, any shit. Outside Germany, people, what they think about Dresden, it's just a wrong stereotype. It's a wonderful place.
I must say, I've been to Dresden, and it is a beautiful city. I had such a great time in Dresden. But you do hear about this, it's AFD stronghold, a lot of racism and so on. So it's quite interesting to hear that in the city, it's not something you experienced.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I read German newspapers, and they talk only shit about my country. So I think it's pretty much the same thing. And regarding the AFD movement, well, when I was there was a procession by AFD people. Okay, they declared that they are going to visit the city,
Yeah.
but the people stopped them right
Yeah.
in the Bahnhof.
Okay.
So they couldn't even come out. So if you ask me, these guys who are living, who stopped them, these fellas are living in Dresden. So are they not Dresdeners? So if they are, then they are not Nazis, right? So they are nice people, right? Or at least they don't want these guys to come.
So you had a great time in Dresden,
Yes.
and where was the next stop then? Then it was to Bielefeld.
Yes. Then I moved to Bielefeld.
And what was the reason for your move to Bielefeld?
Yeah, because
Before you continue, actually, you mentioned earlier a baby.
yeah.
So you have a baby and a wife.
Back then, no, only wife.
This time, okay. So
Yeah.
your wife and baby came
Yeah.
later on. Where did you meet your wife?
Okay. I was married in India.
Oh, you were married in India.
Yeah.
She was back in India when you moved.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just need to
Actually,
get that straight. I was
she
trying
was-
to figure out.
She was a professional in India, so she was working there. So it was not possible for her to move immediately.
Yeah. So we'll get to your wife. I guess she's coming into the story soon. But now, so you moved to Bielefeld for studies still.
Yeah.
So that was the rest of your studies then.
Yeah. So there I started my whole doctoral research. So this 4 months was kind of a vacation time. It was part of my scholarship that I must take lessons to learn German.
Yeah.
So that it's useful.
C2 or
No, 4 months I could reach B1.
B1?
Yeah.
Okay. Had you started learning German before you came over?
No.
Wow. Okay. So B1 in 4 months.
Yeah, that was a part of program.
Is that intensive courses every day or?
Yes, every day.
Okay.
Every day, whole morning. Study.
That
Afternoon.
tiring?
No,
It was okay.
enjoyable.
So, all right. So we're in Bielefeld now, and how is your time in Bielefeld? How long were you in Bielefeld in total?
Oh, first time I actually came across cultural shock. Moving from east to west in Germany.
Really? You know, this is so strange because I would always expect it to be the opposite. People are in Western Germany and then they move to Eastern Germany and they experience a shock. But for you, it was coming from Dresden to Bielefeld and was massive shock. What was different?
Dirty. It's way too dirty.
Dirty, as
Yeah.
in litter everywhere.
Yeah, litter. Everywhere you find beggars. And trust me, in Indian streets you find beggars.
Yeah.
But the count is more, I believe, in Bielefeld.
More than in India.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was quite hilarious.
That surprised you when you came there and saw it?
Yes.
So it was the first few days and you're looking around and you're going, wow, this
Yes.
is...
Initial days, as I said, that my focus was majorly on my work. So I didn't let anything else to ruin that.
But you were noticing it.
Yeah, there had been shit incidents in the city when I went to this foreigner's office. But trust me, you ask anyone, even some Germans, they have same experiences.
What shit incidents are you talking about?
Well, I will sum up the foreigner's office thing in Bielefeld. First time I went there, I was accompanied by a person from the university. That time my German was not good. As I said, that B1 doesn't mean that I could understand good German. Because this classroom teaching is not sufficient. After a certain time, this girl actually told me, she apologized to me and she said, she actually revealed the reason that the person sitting opposite of the desk, she said that, what the nigger is doing here, I cannot stand his smell. And
She said that in front of you,
yeah,
in German or in English,
in German.
but you understood it.
No, the lady, the girl who was accompanied me,
She translated
yeah,
it. for
she told me that. She apologized and then she said that this is the reason I'm apologizing. Wow. And interestingly, she's also a German.
you.
And
I am shocked. Let me just say that.
and she told me that she will complain. Well, second visit, I went there. That time I could speak German. I mean, don't go by this B1, B2 thingy.
No, it's just a label. Everyone comes out of the B1 or B2 course at different levels of actual speaking. Yeah, I know.
And pronunciation is also important.
Yes, it
you
is.
speak some certain thing, and that's not the pronunciation.
Yeah.
So that was the time I could speak things, maybe not so good, but okay.
Yeah.
So the guy, while replying, he used some synonyms which I couldn't understand.
Right. He was replying to you.
Yes. And then I just repeated saying that, sorry, I couldn't understand. Could you please tell me what is that actually? He said, get out, come with a German. And I just asked him, sir, could you please tell me your name and your employee number? And he called the security.
What?
Yeah. Security was behind me actually, and I asked him the same thing. Could you please help me? I just need to know his name and his employee number. That's all. And this time I switched to English. Well, he took me to the manager of Ausländer Behörde, and he issued another ticket, and the problem was solved. I mean, the visa was extended for another year. Then onwards, my German got better, and also people started complaining a lot, so things changed. Unfortunately, in Bielefeld, I used to visit only one person, and that person was not nice.
Okay.
But anyway, I could stand her. And last time what happened, I got a job, and I wanted to apply for this work permit, blue card. And she asked me that get a damn paper filled by your employer and just get out. Okay, that's it. I don't lose my stuffs there. I straight away went to the manager and I said, you know what? I don't want to see that lady once again. Please remove her, then we talk. He tried to explain me, long day, people, their behavior, all bullshit. Anyway, I was quite firm. Yeah, I know nothing was going to happen, but he asked me what happened. And finally, he resolved my issue with another employee. I mean, it was a cakewalk. And the paper she was asking me to fill up, or to get filled up, that is supposed to be sent by Ausländer Behörde to my employer, and employer should send them back. It's nowhere I should be involved. But this kind of story you will get to know everywhere. And I moved to another apartment when my wife joined, and I started working ferociously. So the first year was not bad. Only thing, I didn't know anyone, and my life was quite dull.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's quite a similar experience with my wife as well. Like, we moved to that apartment, and there are some common areas. Say, for example, you go to basement to dry your clothes, and there was a lady. She was not allowing us to do it.
Okay.
Apparently, she owns the whole stuff. It's not the thing, but she thinks that she owns the stuff. And one day I actually had to talk to, I went to the apartment and I waited outside, and her husband came out. Before he could start anything, she came out and she said, okay, talk to me. I said, okay, relax. So I told her that, you are living here for a while, and trust me, I'm going to live here for a while.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make this work somehow.
Yeah, and it's nice if we can live peacefully with each other.
Yeah.
Then it's nice for you, nice for me, and
Yeah, everyone's happy.
nice summer.
We don't have to be friends.
Yeah. Slowly things are getting into shape. I think first problem I saw in our institute is even if there are some foreigners working, but they are a different category of people. So nobody actually interacts with them. And
With the foreigners?
yeah. Even I saw among the foreigners that they don't even like to go into, they don't want to show up. They just accept all the things and they said, okay, fine.
What are we talking about? Foreigners from everywhere? Like USA, UK?
Okay. UK people in my current working place, I see one. Things change when there is an American.
Okay.
Germans love to facilitate Americans.
Uh-huh.
Down there, somewhere, they all love to go to the US.
You're saying Germany is full of USA fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And whenever there is a person from the US and he or she is complaining about certain thing, oh, yes, I mean, they admit at once. They are so sorry, but that's the only exception.
Okay.
And I actually take a cue from that. I try to imitate American accent, and that actually worked for me.
Really? That
Yes.
they think you're American?
Because, a guy from brown skin background can be an American as well.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Yeah, sure.
Uh,
Give me your American accent.
yeah.
Let me hear it.
Well, it takes a while.
Give me more. Give me more. I'm loving it.
Go on.
Okay, so
I
you would
can't do it
you would actually pretend to be. Did it work for you when you
Oh,
pretended
yes.
to be American?
Oh, yes.
Things changed around
Oh,
when people
yes.
thought you're American.
Yes.
Okay.
Like anything. I'm from Philadelphia. You know what? In the States, you do these things.
Go
So,
Eagles.
yeah.
So what
Yeah.
you're saying is that there is a distinct lack of respect
Oh, yeah.
that people have
Yeah,
because they think that you're from India or Pakistan or wherever it is that they think you're from when they meet you.
This guy didn't find a job. Oh,
Yeah,
there is no
yeah.
job.
Yeah.
How'll they get it? So basically, it's an economic refugee. Somebody actually told me. I was drinking blue wine in Weihnachtsmarkt. I was happy. It was like my 4th or 5th class.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me, "Oh, you're from India, so you must not be going back, right?" I said, "I didn't decide, but why?"
Yeah.
Because there is no job in India. I said, "Wow,
Okay.
Merry Christmas."
Wow. Okay. So Bielefeld was really an eye-opening time for you. What do you think the reason is that Germans are like that to you? What is it like? You think it's because of that economic fugitive thing that you're referring to, or is it what prejudices could be resulting in this behavior?
Well, there are quite different things actually. I'd say, first of all, they don't study history.
The Germans.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they have very vague ideas about the world. Number one. Number two, they did pretty well after Second World War, but they didn't forget the war. So, one thing, they know that they are capable of doing good things. Two, they didn't accept the outcome. Any losing side has to bear a bit of things. They did a lot. So, that side of the story. Third, globalization is a thing which is not fit for Germany. They build ghettos. Ukraine, Poland, Russia, spät Ausländer.
But do you think that's the Germans building those ghettos, or do you think that is the foreigners
Who gives
sticking
the
to-
land?
who gives the land? Well, it would be Germans because the Germans are the landowners. But don't you think that the cultures are grouping together automatically? So if someone from Russia comes here, they're going to automatically seek out a Russian that is predominantly Russian, for example?
I'm sure that there will be people from Russia with certain mindsets, but trust me, there will be still people. They would love to go out, mix with other people. Definitely. So you have to give them chance.
You moved from Bielefeld to Nuremberg. And what's your experience of Nuremberg in contrast to Bielefeld? Is it better here, or are you experiencing the same things, the same prejudices and unfriendliness?
Yes, things happened. So my wife was taking the baby once in a pram, and there was a guy sitting. He was coming back from one of the office on the banks, an employee with suit and tie. He was occupying the whole seat without offering her to sit. So she later told me with a laughing that, you know what, we thought that Nürnberg will be different, but seems not. But yeah, we are pretty new in Nürnberg.
Yeah. How long have you been here?
It's just 1 year.
1 year. Okay.
So
it is quite a while, though. 1 year is a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty early to comment about a place.
Yeah.
But in Nürnberg, you see a lot of people, a lot of English-speaking people, definitely.
Yeah.
But English-speaking people also have their own clubs. The British have their own clubs. Even I'm a member of some of these English-speaking communities. But more or less, had been nice experience. Barring one, I was about to finish my probation, and after probation, I was about to take my first vacation of the year. And 2 weeks before that, I was told that, okay, we don't see a future together. I didn't get to know the reason from the manager, but from the employee union, I got to know that they are looking for a person who can speak like a native.
Speak German like a native. So that was the problem then.
Yeah.
For you.
Yes, that was a tough time. I was thinking of, I started looking for job all around. I got a few offers from different cities. Interestingly, I got one from Erlangen. Was nice. My boss wants me to speak German, and I'm speaking German. It's pretty much grammatically incorrect, but
you're speaking it.
I speak.
As long as people can understand, I guess it's the most important thing.
Meanwhile, I figured out that there are these grammatically incorrect phrases which they use, but they mean the right things. So, my boss so far is a nice person, gentleman. My probation is over. What else one can expect?
Are you angry at Germany?
Angry? Okay, no. Angry takes a lot of emotions, a lot of energies. I would say that I'm pissed off.
Yeah?
I feel disappointed. Somehow I don't see a good future for me.
So you are probably going to move. I assume it's the same for your wife. Based on your stories you've told me, your wife's feeling the same things.
She's yet to find a job.
So she's at home looking after her baby.
Yeah.
And what does she do?
She studied finance.
Finance, okay.
So, she did MBA.
Yeah.
And she was working in India in MNCs, mostly American companies, for 5 years. And pretty much I felt sorry about her, She moved to Germany to stay with me, and she sacrificed her career. That's pretty bad. And you know what? She keeps getting calls from Netherlands and all other countries, but not a single one from Germany.
Yeah, it's difficult.
I never believed it before that. I always thought that, okay, maybe she's not pushing it harder, things may work. But when I started looking for a job, I had weird experiences. There are exceptions. I got an offer from a company in Constance. And the boss, he moved from Cologne to Constance. And this pretty much sums up, when you see a German relocating from a place to another on his own, not because of girlfriend or something, you can see a better person.
What do you mean you see a better person if they're relocating? Why? What do you mean by that?
Because they struggle against the odds, and maybe that makes them different person.
Okay.
See, every country has good and bad people.
Yeah.
But whenever you don't struggle and you still get the cream of the system, you don't value it.
Mm-hmm. And you think that's the problem with a lot of Germans? They get the cream of the system and they just don't value it.
They hardly move out. So they stay in the same house their fathers built something.
Yeah. And they go to work, they're not working hard enough is what you're saying. They're just lazy.
Oh yeah.
So, and it's because, just to understand your point, it's because they're getting the best without even really having to try.
Yeah.
So they don't appreciate it,
Yes.
is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And also that grows a lot of superiority complex.
Okay.
So they don't know why they're feeling proud, but they're proud. And the world changed. And I mean, personally, I feel it like, it's funny. I started getting fun out of it. You cannot lose your emotion on some petty things.
Yeah. It sounds like you're fairly convinced that you want to leave for somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Is there anything that could happen now that would get you to stay?
If my wife gets a job and if I continue getting good work in my workplace. I mean, as I say that I'm always open to things, and I still hope that it's not that bad.
Yeah.
And just I was going through a nightmare. But of late, the kid thing is bothering me a lot, because it had been few weeks that I took her to the park below our apartment, and I saw people are saying to their kids, okay, don't talk to her. Okay, my baby cannot talk. Yeah. She's way too young to talk. But if it is the thing, then because I know cases here in Germany, coming from different backgrounds, I'm saying, the kids went to a psychological situation because they couldn't make friends.
Okay.
And they ended up making wrong friends. You know what? You have troublesome childhood and then you end up with wrong people. And that I know a lot here. Yeah. And starting from age like 4 to 6 to 8 to 13 to 25.
Okay. All right. Now, one last question for you before we wrap it up.
Please.
Here. What advice do you have for new people arriving in Germany today? Someone steps off the plane, they're starting a new life here in Germany. They've come from whatever country, let's say from India. What advice do you have for them?
I'd say that don't have expectations and don't live on myths.
What do you mean?
The myths about Germany.
Oh, don't live on the myths.
Yeah. So
don't believe the myths is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, believe and live on it.
Yeah,
So a lot
yeah,
of people
yeah.
try to do that.
Yeah.
Work hard, you will automatically get a life. I cannot say that I have a boring life because I have a lot of things to do. But at the same time, that you meet a lot of people around from different countries having the same problem. The last birthday in Bielefeld I celebrated with some friends, and there was one person. She counted that there was no two persons with the same passport.
Wow. Yeah.
So eventually you will meet people who only cares about life and work and takes things easy.
Okay.
But yeah, the focus should be quite strong.
It's been very, very interesting talking to you, and thank you for your openness and honesty in talking about these things. And I think it's going to be very interesting very interesting for people to listen to this. So thank you very much for taking the time.
So. I appreciate your time as well.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So there's a lot to unpack there with my guest from India. To me, my discussion with him highlights that one's experience of a country is shaped by so many different things. It's shaped by the actual events that happen to us, sure, but it's also shaped by our background and by our own cultures. And this guest had to deal with some racism due to his background, and obviously that's something that I haven't experienced here. I've heard somebody used the term privileged expat, and maybe that's a category I've fallen into in the past. Even now that I'm considered an immigrant, I'm certainly a privileged immigrant in those terms. So it's not something that I can speak to and not something that I've experienced before. Our experience is also shaped by our expectations and also by our reactions to the things that happen over here or to the way people are. And I've met some people who experienced very similar things to what my guest experienced this week, but who still have a positive experience overall and have the ability to overlook these things. For example, the dealing with difficult and rude officials. It's something that we've all had to face. It's something we've all dealt with. But I fully understand why these things could ruin someone's experience of Germany. I might be able to walk away from it and say, well, forget that, not everyone's like that, or I don't know. It's just, I'm able to say, okay, that happened, but not everyone's like that. But if I listen to his story, I haven't had events that were that bad. I haven't had someone kick me out of a foreigner's office. I haven't had somebody call security on me in a foreigner's office even. So had that happened, maybe my viewpoints of Germany would be different as well. By the way, I did mention at the beginning of the episode that he had some viewpoints that I didn't agree with. And these were around his observations about Germans. For example, when he said Germans don't study history. I've known a lot of Germans, also Germans who may not have gone to university, who are very, very well read up on history. And my general feeling is that they do have a very good sense of history, and not just German history, but a lot of times I will meet a German who will know a lot about South African history, for example. So I just couldn't get behind that kind of statement. Another statement that I couldn't get behind was that all Germans are lazy, because, of course, it's a blanket statement. There's a lot of hardworking Germans, but it's all observations from our own personal viewpoints. So what he's observed, what he's seen, I can't comment on that. I just know that in this regard and in these points, my viewpoint differs slightly from what he was saying. And finally, this interview highlighted for me very clearly as well that Germany might not be for everyone. I often regard it as giving me a lot of opportunities, a lot of security and safety that I wouldn't have had in my home country. And it's done huge things for me. It's done huge things for my family. But not everyone experiences that, or not everyone has the same journey through Germany. So it was very interesting to hear a completely different perspective. I hope you enjoyed the different perspective as well, to hear about someone who's had a really bad time and to try and understand the reasons behind that really bad time. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Join the Facebook group. I have Expat Life Germany Facebook group. If you go to the Facebook page, Expat Life Germany Facebook page, you can also find the link to the group associated with that. Join the group, and I'd love to hear people who have had similar experiences that have really tainted their views. Maybe some people who've gone home with a bad taste in their mouths, or maybe people who are now considering going home because of the bad experience. I'd love to hear all these stories, and maybe we can do a follow-up at some time. So that's it for this week. I am on Instagram, Expat Life Germany. I'm on Twitter, Expat Life DE. I'd love for you to join my newsletter. You go to the website, expatlifegermany.de, and you can join it there. I've also put a link that will take you directly to the newsletter sign up in the show notes, so click on that. Music in this episode, theme song by my band, 10 Cent Janes. Other music in the episode, Until the End, by Ryan Anderson. So yeah, thank you for listening to this podcast, and don't forget to donate in the Figgy Padfo charity challenge, and I'll speak to you next week. Auf Wiederhören.